Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Q, a show about life, love, entertainment, sports, society, and culture, and everything in between. But before we get into that, I need everybody to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Conversations with Q. If you can't sit down and watch me on YouTube, download the podcast on all major podcast streaming platforms, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, wherever you listen, download the Conversations with Q podcast. Now, let's get into today's episode. We have special guest in the building, new to a few, not to me. We have Miss Martina Jackson in the building. Go and introduce yourself real quick one time.
Well, thank you for having me on. My name is Martina Jackson. I live out in Richmond, Kentucky, and some may know me from being in the political arena. Okay. And I ran this past election cycle in 2022, former Democratic nominee for the 91st district. Okay. And so, yeah, that's...
We gonna get into the politics and all of that, but I want to talk about Martina's upbringing. I want to bring the people along who might not know you, bring them from a youth to the grown sophisticated woman that we see right here today. So tell me about your upbringing. You said you from Richmond, right?
So not originally.
Okay, so where you originally from? Then here we go.
Right. So I grew up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is right outside of Knoxville. Okay. So my family is from Oak Ridge, Knoxville area, and that's about 2 hours south of Richmond, Kentucky, where I live now. Okay. But how I got to Kentucky was I got accepted into Berea College. Okay. And so Berea, very small town in Madison County, and pretty much it's the college and the town. And so I came to Madison County. I came to Kentucky in 2007, and I graduated from there in 2011. And so I left Kentucky for a little bit. I was up and down the East Coast for about 6 years. I'm a former military spouse. Okay. And hopped from different naval bases. I was in Baltimore, Maryland. I was in Hampton, Virginia. Then I was in Charleston, South Carolina.
So you've been all over the place.
Yeah, up and down the East Coast. It was great. I miss living on the coast, but Kentucky has a way of pulling people back in. And I came back to Kentucky in 2016 and started working for my alma mater then, Berea College, but kind of hopped around for a bit, but I've stayed in higher education doing some work. But Oak Ridge is where I started. Most of my family is still there. I'm the only one in Kentucky.
I was going to ask, how often do you go back home?
Since they're only 2 hours away, sometimes it's just like a day trip, and go see the fam. My family is always asking, when am I moving back?
You tell them it ain't happening.
I was just like, you're not that far.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all need anything, I'm right up the street.
I'm just right up the street.
I mean, you can literally get to me in a day. Not even a day, just a few hours. You can come see me, if you miss me, you know where I'm at.
Right.
Right. So growing up in, what's the name of the town? I don't want to disrespect the town.
Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge. But we said Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge. Okay. Yeah. So growing up in Oak Ridge, did you play sports? What was you into growing up?
So I am one of three, and I'm the youngest.
The baby,
and I'm the baby, yeah. And I think I was really the only one that ended up playing sports. Okay. I played softball for most of my life. Shortstop. Okay. And
you got an arm on you?
Yes.
Okay.
And did basketball, did flag football.
Oh, you did it all.
And I was a thrower for track and field. So I was a discus and shot put thrower. So,
what did you do?
Whatever I could, it was like whatever I could get into. I was a busybody. I just like staying engaged and active, and sports was a way for me to do that. Okay. So
you're the youngest of three. Now, are you the best out of all three of y'all as far as sports wise? You can go ahead.
I want to say yes. Yes.
You want to say it's okay?
I'm very competitive, and that was a way for me to kind of channel that is through sports.
So where it was Berea, is that a college you wanted to go to? Did you have a list of other colleges that you were considering before you ultimately decided on Berea?
Mm-hmm. So I actually found out about Berea when I was in 10th grade in high school from an alum. And as soon as she introduced me, she took me on a informal college visit over the summer. And as soon as I learned about Berea and got on their campus, I said, I have to go here.
It was just one and done.
And I did apply to a lot of state schools. So UT, University of Tennessee, Carson Newman, University of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm trying to think of the others. It's been a while. But I had got accepted into basically all the state schools, and Berea College was the last acceptance letter. And so I'm just like waiting and waiting and waiting.
Nervous and anxious.
Very. And I was like, I want to like get out of my home state. Right. And so I got the acceptance.
Did you cry?
And oh my God, I was just like, I didn't cry. I was like screaming. I was so excited. Of course, my mom is like, why is my baby trying to leave me? And I'm like, I'm out of here, you know, as a 18-year-old would. But it was a place where I just blossomed and really got into student government there. It's a work college, so all the students that go there, everyone has to have a job on campus. And it's just a really unique experience there.
So was it a let's say, was it a culture shock going to Berea, or was Oak Ridge pretty much, was it black and white there in that town? Like, what was it a difference between going from where you was at to Berea, or was it pretty much like a seamless transition for you?
It definitely was a transition. It was much smaller than my hometown. Berea has like maybe 12 hometown, 14,000 people in it. And my hometown, I think maybe is closer to the size of Richmond. I think it may have like 100,000. So it was like, this is a little small. But I was so focused on like my academics. I was nerding out on campus.
That's all right.
That I was just like, what's the best thing that can happen? You're getting your degree, and that's what I'm here for. So I just kind of fully immersed myself into that.
Yeah, I tell my kids all the time, there's nothing wrong with being a nerd. Like, it's absolutely nothing wrong with being a nerd. More people should be nerds. But anyways, what'd you major in? Did you have a set idea what you wanted to major in, or did you just go to college and was like, I'm gonna just see what's there and then pick my major? So initially going in, I had my sights on being a business administration major. Excuse me. That's all right.
Excuse me. And then I took a class with peace and social justice. And that was not a major at the time. So I had an independent major. After I took this class, I was like, I want to major in this, where I focused on learning about conflict and the impact of interpersonal conflict to global level conflict, and looking at the policy route. So how does government officials, how do, nonviolent movements like the civil rights to Gandhi, to looking at South Africa during the apartheid, like all that type of conflict. Because where I grew up in public housing. I saw violence a lot. And I always question, why is this happening? And so after taking that course, it just spoke to me personally as to I can be part of changing that narrative. And so I got hooked, and I ended up with a major in peace and social justice and a focus on international studies.
So the peace and social justice part, and you mentioned, your upbringing and seeing the violence around you. Most people, when they see stuff like that, they want to be an attorney or a detective. You're more so, you wanted to change the environment and wonder, why is this happening in a certain area, a certain part of town, which gravitates you to picking that degree? Is that fair to say? So being in a liberal town like Berea, how did you gain such consciousness being in a liberal town to do what you wanted to set out to do?
Right. I would say just like the mission of Berea College is like the startings of the college. It was started by an abolitionist, John G. Fee. He wanted to stop slavery. He was very vocal about it.
Okay. History lesson.
Yes. But the most radical part about it was that when it was established, he wanted blacks and whites and women and men to be educated together.
Okay.
He said, this was before, separate but equal. We don't want these folks to be educated whatsoever. And he said, no, actually, we should all be educated together. So that like fundamental foundation of my college career just made me believe like, yeah, why aren't these things actually happening in the first place? So Berea really helps build that foundation and let people figure out how they can do it, how they can make change, whether you're going into the business field, you're going into STEM, or you're looking at policy. Yeah.
Did you occur any racial profiling, racial discrimination, any discrimination period while going to school down in Berea? And did you experience it at home too, or was it when you first got here? Was your first experience dealing with anything racial?
No, definitely back in Tennessee.
Okay.
I'm from the South,
right.
So if people look at what's going on right now in Nashville, with them expelling 2 Black young men out of the House of Representatives,
right.
I mean, that can tell you a lot. So I grew up being very aware that you were supposed to act in your place.
In your place, so to speak.
Right. And coming to Berea, it wasn't as overt as it was in Tennessee in terms of people. It was more subtle. It was more subtle in Kentucky, I would say.
No, I'm right there with you. Yes, it's hard to explain, but you know it when you see it.
Correct.
When it's like, yeah, I know what that is.
I know what this is.
Yeah, I know what that is. So you get to social justice and everything like that, and you said you experienced very minor racism here in Berea. What's your and before I ask you this question,
right.
Being from Tennessee, what is your thoughts on the whole? Them getting expelled, because from my understanding, it seems like you're more into politics than I am. So I'm gonna go with you on this. 3 people got caught doing the same thing. 2 got expelled, and the other one got what? What was the other one? Got suspended or nothing?
Was 1 vote short of being expelled.
1 vote, and to my recollection, 2 of the people got expelled, looked like us, and the other one didn't. What's your whole thoughts on that whole situation? And also, 2-part question, what's your thoughts on the whole gun control laws and things like that?
So, gun safety, gun control, gun violence, gun rights, all of those buzzwords bring a lot of different emotions for people because, of course, we have the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. And I am someone who is, yes, you should be able to carry, right? Okay. I don't oppose that. The challenge is looking at how do we keep people safe and how do we keep guns out of the hands of people who do not need to have them. And, from looking at domestic violence, people who have been, who have felonies from that to, some people say if you have, mental health challenges that are severe enough that you'd be a harm to people and others, background checks, etc. I feel like those are common sense things that we should be looking to implement to keep people safe, not allowing for guns to be on public campuses like universities, which was something that was brought up this past legislative session here in Kentucky, was to allow for guns on university campuses, which working on one, that is scary. But public safety is a lot of different things. And what is happening in particular in Tennessee with their response to the shooting that did happen at the school, I think they have a right to be angry. I think people have a right to be angry, period, about seeing people and especially kids get killed. And to think about, even in Lexington, where we're seeing young people die, that is so tragic and unnecessary. But to say that those folks should not be allowed to voice their opinion, they were duly elected, their constituents sent them there to talk about the issues that are impacting them, and then for their supposed colleagues to expel them. They could have censured them. They could have said, you can't talk. But they expel them. They remove them from the body completely is absurd and an attack on our democratic values.
So before I ask you about the politics side of it, what was your whole thought process? Now, I know emotionally everybody, just like myself, was torn when we found out what happened. But taking the emotional side out of it, what was your thought process on the gun part of it when you heard about that, what happened?
Right. I wanted to know how this person got a gun. How so easily does one access a gun when they are in that state of mind? And should, were there protocols in place to even keep people who shouldn't have a gun? And frankly, it's just, it's like, at what point do we say enough is enough when it comes to gun control?
So I don't know if you've already put this into, when you run in for office, and we'll get to that in a second, but what can we do? Because like you said, you're all for Second Amendment rights to bear arms, right? But to make it, to dumb it down, you're okay with people having guns, just be smart with the damn gun. Right. So what do you feel like America can do to go towards your policy of trying to keep it to where we can have guns, but we need to be more responsible? Like, what is the plan for that?
So I think one of the biggest things that I think about is automatic weapons, where you can shoot more rounds with just one pull of the trigger. That type of, weapon on the street is, that's scary, especially it's like we're not in a war zone. Yeah. And I understand there's gun enthusiasts everywhere, it feels very American, unfortunately, where, you want to have guns to that degree anyways. Right. I don't think the public should have access to military grade weapons. Okay. These are folks that are training for war, obviously a different purpose. Right. Even, with our police, that they're starting to upgrade more to military level weapons and way of protecting themselves. And so I think it's complicated because you want to make sure people's rights aren't taken away. But when I think about automatic weapons, I don't really think the public should have access to that.
So you're not against weapons. You're just against the military grade weapons, like the assault rifles and things of that nature that people have. And you're more so wondering, how are people having access to these weapons? Where are they coming from and how are they getting them? Right. Okay, I got you. Now talk about the political side of it, about the two people who got expelled. Talk to me about that, because a lot of people like myself might not be a lot familiar with that situation and everything. Right. So explain to me what that situation is and your initial feelings when you seen that those two were the only ones to get expelled. Right.
I wasn't surprised when I saw that they were calling them the Tennessee Three. And these were 3 Democratic legislators from Tennessee who when it looks like thousands of students and young people and Tennesseans who were coming out to protest against gun violence. This is after that school shooting. Right. And so they go out, they're chanting with them, they're protesting with them. And instead of their colleagues responding in a way to say, hey, we'll just let them do them, they said they wanted to expel them. And so they voted on all three of these individuals whether or not they would expel them from the House of Representatives from Tennessee. So there's Justin Pierce, Justin Jones, and Gloria Johnson, I think, is the third one. And both Justins are from very urban areas. One is representing Memphis. The other is representing a part of Nashville. And I think it is a reflection, too, of trying to cancel out this urban voice and vote. And because I think there is, just like in Kentucky, there's this urban rural divide. And but they went and voted each of these people, and both of the young men, I think they're in their late 20s, which is impressive that they've been elected. And they were expelled. The third individual, Gloria Johnson, who is an older woman, and she's also white, but she was one vote short. Someone didn't vote to
expel her. Yeah.
So she barely made it. She barely scraped through. But I think it is very obvious that there was a racial undertone as to, and actually it's very overt. Yep. We don't want you here. The colleagues even say, you need to be like us. You need to assimilate, don't show up as your authentic self in this body, which is pretty egregious.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We'll do a lot of things, but I ain't doing that.
But we're on that. No, not today.
Now, when you got into politics at Berea College, what made you actually want to take the step? Because a lot of people get into politics, but, play more of the behind the scenes type of stuff. What made you actually want to run for office or want to run for district?
So really, getting into student government, I started in college. I just wanted to find where I fit in at. And I ended up doing student government all 4 years at Berea, which I'm not really sure how I was able to get elected every year.
They know you, girl.
Yeah.
They know Martina. That's the homie. I'm voting for her.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm the homie. So
everybody know Martina. Yeah.
And then once I graduated, I took a more behind the scenes role of, I worked for the NAACP for a bit in Baltimore and did some policy work. I worked with the Military Scholarship Foundation, worked with a Boys and Girls Club, again, doing resource development, things like that. When I came back to Kentucky, because during that time I was, had a few years away from Kentucky. I was just trying to find what type of work I wanted to get into. It wasn't until 2018 where I had really got the Politico bug.
Got the bug,
of getting involved in campaigns, calling voters, door knocking, and again behind the scenes. Right. I wasn't trying to.
You weren't trying to put your face out. I wasn't trying to get out there just yet.
It's no, I'm good. In 2019, I got asked. 5 times. Because I said no.
5 times. Okay. She know exactly how many times it took. Okay.
To run for office. And I said, no. Why would I do that? Why would I put myself out there?
Was you scared, or did you just really not want to do it? Because a lot of times we say no because we're scared.
I was definitely scared.
Okay.
I was newly divorced.
Okay.
Young child. I just felt like I'm working full time. Who has time for this?
Right.
I didn't feel like I had the support.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So what ultimately led, after the 5 times, on that 6th time, what made you say, okay, fine, I'll go ahead and do it? What made you say yes?
Well, at the time, I didn't know if anyone was going to do it. And I was just like, well, if no one else, it's not that I was, it was a foreign concept to be around politics, but I said, if I have people who are encouraging me, maybe there is a reason why I should do it.
They seen something in you that you didn't see yourself.
Yeah.
So when you finally said yes, what in your mind did you say? What did you just say? What did you just do? So what was your thought process after you said yes and you hit the ground and said, okay, step one is you have to file your paperwork with the Secretary of State. You have to get 2 signatures from constituents, 2 voters, to sign off saying, I am, if you're running on a partisan ticket, so I was running on a Democratic ticket, that said, yes, we support Martina. So first step, get it notarized. You pay $200 to file. Take that to Frankfurt. Then you have to file this other paperwork so that you can legally fundraise and get money. So you have to do that too. So, God, it feels like it was forever ago. Yes. But that's what you have to do to initially file to run for state representative. So what ultimately led you to being a Democrat?
Yeah. So I was an independent for a really long time. When I lived up and down the East Coast as a military spouse, I could vote in the open primaries. I didn't have to have a D or R or anything beside my name to vote on who I wanted to be a Democratic nominee or a Republican nominee, etc. When I got to Kentucky, I found out that these are closed primaries. You have to be a Democrat or registered as a Republican to vote in the primaries. And a lot of the candidates that I did support were Democrats. And so that led me to change my registration to Democrat.
From independent to Democrat.
Yeah.
So now, this is conversation with Q. We get a little messy on here sometimes. So you mentioned that you were married. You were a military wife. How long were you married? And did you meet your husband at Berea College?
I did. I met my son's father at Berea College. We were both students there. And we got married while we were in college. And so I was married for almost a decade.
Whew.
Yeah.
10 years strong.
Yeah.
I ain't did it one time. I'm going to do it, Mama. I'm going to do it one day. Just hold on. And she's trying her hard. Yeah. She said, I keep giving you away. They just keep giving you right back to me.
Oh my God.
I know. Mama, I'm trying.
She's trying.
But so speak to me what it was like being a military wife. And I'll just be honest for myself. 98% of my relationships was my fault. It was my fault. I held accountability and growth. It was my fault. You know? So what ultimately? Y'all was married for 10 years. What was it like being married to him? And also, what it ultimately was the demise or the end of you guys' marriage? Yeah. Let's get into it.
So I'm gonna say those are some heavy questions, but
let me get comfortable.
You get married at 19 and 20,
right?
And there was a lot of growth during that time. And you don't realize, that you are going to change. I'm 33 now, and Martina at 19 and Martina at 33
Two different people.
Are completely different individuals. I got divorced when I was 28. So, there were a lot of things from challenges with navigating military family life. There were multiple deployments. He was deployed when our son was born. Missed almost the first year of his life because of that.
That's rough.
So it's just, there's so many strains on military families that I don't think people understand how heavy that is. Even if you have a lot of support around you, it is very few people who can relate other than if you're on near a military base around military families, right? So that's, a definite strain as well. Not having, constant communication, where you talk about communication is key. it's very hard to do when you have your significant other who is deployed and may or may not be able to be in contact with you for a few days at a time. And, you know, struggles around mental health issues too, where you can only help yourself and your significant other so much, and being so young, not realizing that you don't have to fix that person. You don't have, you know, you're not always going to be that support. Someone else is going to have to be that support. But it did cause a rift. So I felt like, for me, I did not want to continue in a relationship that was very toxic. It was unhealthy. We just were not finding common ground. It was as if we were two foreign objects in a, you know,
as my mom would say, two ships in the night, just passing by each other.
Honestly. Yeah. But what we have come to kind of see out of that relationship is that what we do well is parent well. Okay. And our son is, you know, that's, regardless of the divorce, like, we're still family. Right. And knowing, like, he is, you know, a great, he is a amazing chapter out of that, I get you know, piece that we can move forward and co-parent. But I would say, you know, growing up, growing in different parts in our lives, to military, you know, strains on family, all that just took its toll. It just took its toll.
Two-part question. When was the moment? First of all, I commend you, because that's a lot to, you know, to deal with, especially like you said, you know, he's deployed for a year, the first year of your child.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And so you was enduring that with little support. And then, like you said, sometimes you wouldn't talk to him to 3 or 4 days on top of not being able to see him already. So right. I understand that, and I commend you. What was the straw that broke the camel's back that you said, I cannot do this? And then who was the one that ultimately filed for the divorce?
I think after a lot of challenges that we were seeing, with communication breakdown and, I would say, mental health challenges. Okay. Where we were not getting the help that we needed to process depression, anxiety. There was PTSD going on, things like that. It just became a breaking point that we were not functioning at all. We were just, it was a shipwreck. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. And I had friends around me that said, you know, we'll support you whatever you decide. Right. And I ended up filing for divorce, because I said, why would we keep tormenting one another in a relationship that is clearly, like, it is broken?
Were you, when you filed, were you emotional, or was you just like, man, I just got to get this over with?
I mean, I definitely, it sucked. Yeah. To have, like, get to that point where you're like, I can't do anything. I can't do anything else but go into this direction. Right. It's not repairable at this point. So I sucked it up and just, you know, I grieved after the whole process.
After everything was signed and everything. Okay. So we get to the divorce. Now, would you ever get married again?
I'm not opposed to it. I will say I am a hopeless romantic. Okay. And so,
fellas, listen up. She's giving you the clues right now. Just pick up the breadcrumbs. Go ahead.
So I'm not opposed to it, but I'm definitely not running to the altar.
So if a man was to hop in your inbox, how would he get your attention? How would he get your attention? Because dudes hop in inbox all day long.
Oh my God, yes they do.
And, you know, they say the most craziest stuff ever.
Bananas.
And I'm not a woman, so I don't know, but I feel comfortable in saying that when women open it up and they see either a picture off top,
yes,
or some wild request,
yes,
you're not going to respond to that dude.
Delete.
So how could a guy hop in your inbox and get your attention? Fellas, listen up. Go ahead. Go ahead. Playing matchmaker today. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Really, I like guys who take on like the planning. Hey, I would like to take you out.
Okay.
Are you free?
Okay.
And make it happen.
Like alpha male. She's looking for an alpha male who can take charge, take lead, let her know that you're interested.
Because I'm often operating in a very masculine energy all the time because of my work, because of politics. Mm-hmm. I want to just chill.
But you want somebody else to just take over.
That I can, feel like they can.
You got this.
Protect me. They can take care of me. Yes,
you want to trust somebody.
Yes, and so, but I can read people pretty quickly, so I'll know if they can keep it up or not. Okay.
Hey, well, there it is. It's all in your character. Now, a lot of women say the dating pool has pee in it.
I see that.
Well, I was about to ask you your thoughts on the whole dating pool right now. Well, do you feel like it got pee in it? Have you lost hope? Like, what's your whole thought process on the dating pool?
Definitely has pee in it.
Somebody told me it got pee, anthrax, SARS, feces.
It has God knows what in it. It is challenging to put yourself out there, and then I'm not asking for like Prince Charming. I'm not asking someone to, make me a stay-at-home wife or anything. I'm like, that's not what I'm asking for. But hold your end up. Read the room. Have some emotional intelligence. Be able to communicate. Hey, if this is working, it's working. If it's not, it's not. Instead of like stringing you on. So like all these different things that I've experienced, I'm not. It will take me a lot to really be like, yeah, I want to make time for this person.
Okay. Well, since we own relationships, what's your thoughts on social media and relationships? Like, people, should you post your significant other? Some people are fine with not posting their significant other. Also, this whole, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but fake atmosphere. And what I mean by that is BBLs, and then you got these guys out here perpetrating like they got it all when they really don't have it all.
Right.
What's your whole thoughts on the whole relationships and social media, and has it ruined the idea of a relationship?
I do think that social media has made it seem like there is an abundance of quality relationships.
Yes.
And I think it's easy to get lost in that sauce of there's a bunch of fish in the sea, I'll find someone. But it also takes work to develop like genuine relationships. And social media makes it feel like just because you send someone a message, just because, you like and heart and do all that that somehow is building a connection. That's low hanging fruit, baby. Like that, that costs me nothing to do.
To just like
exactly.
There's no thought, there's no heart. Oh, this is like picture, click
and scroll. So people have this just like idea that somehow is going to mean that relationship is there's potential there or something, or that's the authentic connection. And I'm like, no, that's
just like the picture.
Exactly. I loved it. I liked it. You love it. I like it. Whatever. But I think people have definitely, they don't understand that that's not a like authentic, meaningful, sustainable connection that you can have. No shade to anybody getting BBLs and
that's why I said I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, do your thing.
I got to go to the gym. I can't afford no BBL.
Do
you know what I mean? So if I could go to the DR and get shape shift over there,
do your thing. Do your thing.
But I do. Yeah, I think social media has definitely skewed how we view connection and like the authenticity of relationships. and quality of relationships.
Well, what about OnlyFans? What's your take on OnlyFans?
Do you it's interesting to see even on dating apps. I'll see guys like, don't swipe if you have a OF, and I'm like, if you don't have money, just say that. You know what I
mean? Listen, when women, I'm assuming it's spam, but when they send out their spam inboxes to all of their followers, I'll tell them, look, I respect what you do, but I'm not great subscribe, honey.
Right.
Like, but it's just, and that's fine.
I'm going to just thumbs it up.
That's fine. I'm cool with it being $10 a month, but I'm not. That's not for me.
I respect your hustle, but
that's what I tell them. I respect your hustle, but
that's not my ministry. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, that's not. I'd rather throw this $10 to, some McDonald's or something.
Oh my God.
I ain't got nothing for you right now.
I'm like, men, women, whoever alike, people have, that content, and if they want to do that, have at it. It's not my cup of tea.
But have you feed your kids? Hey,
no tea, no shade.
Hey, there it is. So you talked about liking pictures, right? Mm-hmm. What if you're dating a guy and you like maybe it's a celebrity. We'll just say celebrity. A celebrity's picture, but you liked about 5, 6 of them in a row. He's got his shirt off, or he's, looking kind of swag. He got his thing going together. And your man sees that you liked about 6 pictures.
Right.
Is that a problem then? Should that be a problem? Because it's different from just liking one picture scrolling, but now you done like 5, 6. And now he's like, damn, does she think my body's horrible? Does she want me to get into the gym? Like, what? She don't even like my pictures. Like,
well, see, okay. I think that if you are not doing things in your relationship already that make your partner feel you are cared for, that you show up for them, that you make them feel secure, then I think there's more likely to have conflict over the pictures being liked and things like that. I'm like, 2 things can be true at the same time. You like this body type, you like this body type, or you think this person is very attractive and your partner is, but whom you're, that relationship, that partnership, that, whatever you're developing is who you're with. Social media, again, just kind of feeds insecurities, I think. And when I was more insecure about myself, I would say that bothered me. And then I would just be like, well, does he get mad if I like, a picture of, I don't know, Jonathan Majors or, Tank or whomever,
he's like, yeah, she really likes, but go ahead though. That's why she said those names, but go ahead though.
But, for whatever reason. And I'm like, if they're not losing sleep over it, why should I? If there's nothing that is going on that they're doing that makes me feel insecure outside of this, then I need to have some reflection too as to what's going on.
That's fair. You talked about, the co-parenting with you and your ex-husband. Was it always smooth sailing for you guys, or did you guys have to build and, take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward until y'all both can get to a place to where, okay, this is just how he is, this is just how I am, we'll just make it work like that? Because just for me, sometimes when you're trying to raise a kid in 2 different households, you're going to butt heads naturally, right? But it's about, okay, what works best for us? Because I feel like a lot of people get to where these situations where they see other situations and they want their co-parenting situation like that, not realizing they don't understand how long it took for them to get like that.
Yes.
And so you have to find what works for you guys. So was it always smooth sailing, or did you guys have to work until you got to that point?
Oh, we definitely had to work into that because, coming fresh out of a divorce, it's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this person.
You don't. Don't look at me. I'm just
Don't say hi. Don't.
That's
nothing. Yeah. Don't even smile at me.
Yep.
Don't look my way.
Don't.
And so it was, and we were living in 2 different cities at one point, 2 different states, because he was still in South Carolina at one point, and eventually moved to Kentucky. So it took us some time to figure out what we really were trying to do. You know, are you trying to make your kid's life miserable, or are you trying to protect your ego, your hurt ego, at the cost of your kid? Ooh. And so that was that. And still, I think I see a lot of friends struggle with this with their co-part or parents, that people will say and do things, you know, diminish the other co-parent from the child. And if I did that, my son, I just know he would never look at me the same, you know? So over time, we just realized that we are, you know, we're friends, we're cool.
Right.
There's no animosity. We disagree on certain things sometimes, and
which is natural.
Yeah, it's
two different households. Yeah.
It's two different households. Conflict is normal. Is how you respond to it. And we do have 50-50 custody.
Okay.
Sometimes it's, you know, he's more with me sometimes because his dad is a first responder. So the schedule isn't as flexible. So that can be frustrating. But ultimately, we're trying to figure out, and his dad is remarried now. So, you know, two different households, you know, two different dynamics going on. He's got stepsisters now. At my house, he's the only child, you know, so there was just a lot of ebbs and flows that we're just going to have to navigate as we go. But when I'm looking at, I want my son to have a healthy relationship with me and his dad. I grew up in a single parent household.
Okay.
My dad was not around. And, you know, he one time asked me, Mom, how was that not to have two parents? And for me, I was kind of taken aback because he feels that he's supported enough that he, regardless of his parents being divorced, that he was comfortable asking, you know.
Yeah. Because
he can't even fathom not having both his parents around.
That's a testament to you guys' job. Good job.
Right. Thank you. But it's not easy, and you do have to put aside the ego when it comes to, you know, those hurt feelings about a relationship that didn't work.
So, man, it's just I want to go so many different ways with this. As a woman, talk to me on the opposite side. How are you able to, because you kept mentioning putting your ego to the side after you deal with a failed relationship.
Right.
How do you do that as a woman to put your ego to the side and say, okay, it ain't about me, it ain't about him, it's about our son.
Right.
How can I make this work with this man so we stop fighting as much? Like, what did you do to be like, okay, I need to take a step back and reassess how Martina co-parents. So what'd you do to help fix the co-parenting situation?
You do. I recommend you go to therapy, people.
Okay. Okay.
But also find people around you who are going to encourage you to behave like an adult. You know,
thank you for that.
Not looking to be petty or get back, because you're going to experience hurt, and hopefully not a divorce, but that it happens, you know. Just being able to have people around me to help reflect back, like, you know, I responded in a way that was not true to my character. I let emotions get the best of me. Again, going back to like my childhood trauma and understanding, like, do I want my son to have the same trauma of feeling like they don't have supportive parents around? Like, why would I want to do that? You know? So some of it is a lot of, you know, looking at my childhood trauma and what was triggering me to act in a way that I didn't feel was reflective of how I really wanted to support my kid.
So that's where the therapy came into play, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your thoughts on child support? I know you guys are being married, so it's a little different from if you're just in a relationship and it doesn't work and then you go. So what's your whole thoughts on child support? Like, do you think it's something that all women should look into? Do you think it's only for the deadbeat dads? Like, what's your whole thoughts on all of that?
I mean, they're 9 times out of 10, I'm assuming there are men who are paying child support, but there are women, and I know women who paid child support too. If you have 50-50 custody, and you really legit have 50-50 custody, it's not like, hey, I'm running errands with the kid, and I'll drop him off after practice, you know?
It's like, no, the kid is really with you in the house. And
you got to accommodate your schedule because your child is with you, right? So if it really is that dual partnership that is going on, the child is being taken care of, have that conversation of who's paying for what, down to insurance, health insurance, to
daycare calls,
little league, summer camp. We have those conversations. Okay. And so we don't necessarily talk about like, you have to pay this amount all the time. Now that may not work for other people, where if someone is not physically present, regardless if it's a mom or dad, you should be paying something. Right. Because ultimately, no, it does not make up for your physical presence, but it helps relieve some of that burden of parenting the one parent that is constantly there. So, I'm like, if you got to do something. Yeah.
You can't just do nothing. You got to do either you're physically there and you can help out in ways that we can both agree on, or if you're not going to be there, run them pockets to me. Period. Run them pockets to me. What's your thoughts on women who do have active fathers, but, and I'm speaking for a lot of guys right now, so I'm pretty sure. That, what is your thoughts on these men who are present, but the mothers still feel like you need to run them pockets to me? So the guy is there doing everything he can, but the mother still wants to get everything in his pocket. How do you feel about those situations?
Well, I mean, if it's an illegal document.
No, it's not nothing legal.
Yeah, I'm going to say then run the money, because legally you are bound to that. Honestly, it's like there seems to be some unresolved conflict that needs to be addressed. And I think also sometimes instead of going out into the world of social media and
my baby daddy, my baby mama, all of that,
this and that does not need to be public. Handle it with the people that you need to address and figure out what works. And if you guys can't effectively communicate, find someone to mediate. It's just like kids feel that. They feel that tension. They see it. And it's like, you're not helping the situation. You're painting the narrative that you want because you're upset still. And if there are things going on that you can't control the other person, if you don't like their behavior, whatever, you can't control people. All you can do is figure out the best way to respond. But it's just like, when I see that, I'm like, one, that's toxic. Two, y'all need to actually talk to each other like adults instead of like saying whose fault it is. Right.
So for me, and maybe you can put this into play in one of your policies, I don't know. But my whole thoughts on child support is, a lot of the times, let's just keep it all the way 100. 90% of the time, it's the woman going to file for the guy, right? So my thing is, whoever is filing, you must pay out of pocket for 5 mediation sessions. So therefore, that lets both parties know they're trying, but they just can't get on the same page. So so it has to be 5, right? And then after that 5th session, if you guys can't agree on it, then we can go to court, because now you can say, Your Honor, we've tried. We both tried it. Now we need the legal side to come in and dictate what we should do. So that's my whole thoughts on that. But as far as men, now I'm speaking for us, and you talked about the ego. How would women like for, let me rephrase that. How would moms like for their dads to approach them to have a conversation to where they don't feel like we're attacking the mom and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and take me off of this? How can guys, what can we do? What would women like for us to do to make the co-parenting relationship better?
I think giving people the benefit of the doubt and not assuming that someone's doing something malicious is a good just foundation to start with. regardless of all the antics that may have gone on in the relationship. If you are channeling all your negative energy into talking down on each other in front of your kids, that's strike one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Against both parties, yes, or whomever. Families not doing the same thing, not feeding into toxic behavior as well. Because I know, if a grandma's upset and uncle's upset,
that goes back to what you said. Have good people around you.
Have good people around you that will encourage dialogue but two, to have like serious conversation. Don't do this in front of your kids. Don't ever do it in front of your kids. Have a place where you guys can sit down with other adults. Have mediators, whomever, a pastor, whatever makes sense. Right. That you guys can hash out whatever it is. I think coming to a place to say, I'm not here to take you for everything that you've got, but to figure out what's the best way we can help our kids and who is carrying however much of the load, that becomes very present after, it becomes very clear as to who is carrying what load in the parenting situation. And if you guys are equally in whatever capacity that is, then it shows. But if it's, one parent is like, yeah, I got you, and they never show, then that also becomes very clear too, but that comes through conversation and the realization that, not what your homeboy's telling you, not what your homegirl's telling you. Don't hype them up to do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. But it's not coming in. You can have your feelings, but if you use it and go in attack mode, it doesn't help.
Everything that the conversation for automatically just gets shut down.
People shut down immediately.
Well, you ain't doing it. Then we ain't even conversating. We just arguing.
It's over. Might as well shut it down.
And then I ain't listening to you. Ain't listening to me. So what are you still talking for?
Right. We good then.
We good.
You know what I mean?
We good. Who's paying for the check? Who getting the check at this point? Because I'm done here. Good. Let's slide over to sports a little bit because you in the Beyond the Game sports group. Woo-hoo. She holds her own.
I know.
Angel Reese and the Caitlin Clark situation. What was your thoughts on that whole situation?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it was. I think both of them are fantastic.
Right.
But also there were a slew of other women that played in this game. So it's just like they get completely overshadowed. So I thought, man, this is so messy for like unnecessarily. It was in the game. It wasn't,
post game.
No, shots weren't fired after the game. And LSU representing, the SEC, and they were like, if they want to play this way, we're going to play this way, type of thing. It's so normal.
It is.
Bring it to the court, bring it to the field, bring it to the match, bring it wherever. But they brought it to the game, and it was completely over, like just blown out of proportion. But two, the response, I think, was what was so unnecessary in terms of policing Black women as to how they are supposed to show up in spaces. Yeah. And it was like, you can't be too much of this or too much of that. But this other person, it was like, yeah, we knew she did it. But, we like to see, them talking smack.
For one, censor the other.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I think afterwards, Caitlin Clark was like, we're good.
Yeah,
she came out and said, we played the game and this was the result. And
yeah, because she said she didn't have no problems with it. She was like, it's a part of the game.
I mean, she did it. What was it? They played Louisville.
Yeah.
And so it was just like people, their minds were just blown. It's hilarious to me at this point.
Because I think it was more so that it was a white young lady and a Black young lady, because people don't realize that a week prior to that, Pat Beverly and Austin Reeves were going back and forth and trash talking. Pat Bev is black, Austin Reeves is white. Austin Reeves hit him with the "you too small" against a black player. Nobody said a word.
Right.
Nobody said, "Oh, well, how can this white dude do this?" Nobody said a word.
Right.
But as soon as a sister talks shit,
it becoms a whole different.
Oh, well, that's not how a lady should act.
It's classless.
She's tacky.
It's tacky.
Disrespecting the game. Yeah. It's like, no. Apparently, you ain't never played sports because
apparently
talking shit is part of the game.
I'm like, is this new to you?
It's a game within a game.
I'm like, how are you this shook over this? Like, no.
To majority of people, we're like, that's nothing. That's lightweight. Like that's child's play. That's stuff you see in like Little League. That's absolutely nothing.
It's nothing. My God, Little League. Even watching my son plays Little League, and he gets a mean mug if he thinks a pitcher is doing something he shouldn't be doing, and they do chants, they do cheers that are supposed to throw shade at the other team.
Intimidation.
And I'm just like, please.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's why I said this society is getting so soft. You can't even. But anyways, what about as far as on the men's side? Do you have any favorite basketball teams, favorite basketball players? You about to set the Beyond the Game group on fire, but go ahead.
I know. Honestly, because not only what he does on the court, but what he does off the court is. To me, says a lot more about who he is. Mm-hmm. And that's why I admire him.
Mm-hmm. She keeps saying him. She's not saying his name, but go ahead. I see what you're doing here, but go ahead, though.
And I like people who give back. Okay. So, and then there could be a slew of other players. But because this person has the platform that they do, it's just awesome to me. So I'm going to give it up.
You are a politician. You are
LeBron
a politician.
James.
Okay, there it is. Okay. All right. So
I had to set the qualifiers. Okay. I also love Steph Curry. Okay. I love seeing him ball. Okay. Those two, I would say Steph Curry is maybe closer to my age, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's 34, 35.
Yeah, I'll be 34 in May. Yeah. And so just seeing guys come up that are around the same age as me, and he's just a tremendous player on the court. Mm-hmm. So he just
Jay work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot to Jay.
I'm not mad at that. And you said your son plays baseball, right?
He plays baseball, yes.
What positions does he play?
So they still kind of switch him around, but he tends to be either in the outfield, third base, or a shortstop.
Outfield, third. And since Mom plays softball, I'm assuming Mom gets the credit for that. Mom did that.
Yes, his dad ran cross country, so he wasn't doing.
Yeah, that's a little different
none of
sport.
that.
He wasn't using all of his twitch muscles. But anyways, that's a different story for a different day. But anyways, we're coming up on the end of our show, and at the end of our show, every time I have a guest, I play questions with Q. I have 5 index cards laid face down. She has to call out a number, and she has to do 3 out of the 5. Now, if she doesn't answer any of the cards, she has to change her profile pic for a week to my logo or the NBA or NFL player she despises the most.
Oh my God.
So, Miss Jackson, let's get this started.
Oh my goodness.
1 through 5, you got to pick 3 of them. Go ahead with the first one.
Okay. I pick
with any number.
3.
3? All right. What you got about? If you could spend one night in bed with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Crying. Who would it be? Oh man.
Go ahead.
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive.
Prince.
Okay, that's the first. I've never known. Okay, but you like the little short guys? You like the short one?
I just think he's a great singer. He'd be fun we'd just be chilling.
Chilling in bed. All right,
yeah.
So 1 down. Let's see what else we got. What number?
4.
4. You can go and change your profile pic. If you could have sex with any one of your social media followers, who would it be?
Oh! Oh my God.
I mean, you're more than welcome to say you declined and you want to change your profile picture. Look at her. She blushing, y'all. She blushing. She turning red.
Decline.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. So she has to change her profile picture. I'm gonna take it easy on you. I'm gonna just let you change it to the Conversations with Q profile picture.
Okay,
she said I decline. Yeah. But
can't say that out loud.
Miss Martina Jackson, let people know where they can get a hold of you at if they want to, vote for you, if they want to look at your policies or anything like that. Yep. Let people know where they can find you at.
So currently not running for anything, but I am a glutton for punishment, and I'm involved in politics in general. But I am on Twitter, Martina4KY. I'm pretty active on there. Also, I have a Facebook page, Martina Jackson. So you can find me there.
There it is. Real quick, how'd you get into Beyond the Game group? I'm glad you're there, by the way. I'm glad you're there. I need more women in the Beyond the Game group. Please, women, jump in there. Get active with the guy. Derek Stevenson, he got you in there? Mm-hmm. Shout out to Derek Stevenson.
Shout out to Derek.
Good job, Derek. But anyways, we thank everybody for tuning in to another great show, Conversations with Q, with my special guest, Miss Martina Jackson. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Conversations with Q, and also download the podcast on all major podcast streaming platforms. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show, please feel free to inbox me about the show. And, we'll get you to come on the show. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do this. Who would you like to see on Conversations with Q? But you got to help me get them on here, though.
Okay.
Who would you like to see on here? Be any one of your friends, family, whoever. Bring them on in here.
I think someone that would be good to come on is... Larry Jackson.
Larry Jackson.
He is the owner of Synergy Fitness.
Larry Jackson, I'm looking for you. But anyways, we get ready to get on up at this thing. And as always, treat somebody how you want somebody to treat your mama. And we up at this thing, y'all. Peace.